This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you, cashing out on a Friday here on VSiN, the sports betting network. We got best bets coming up in both the NBA and the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll take a look at this weekend slate in Major League Baseball as well, because it's a Saturday. We love day games here in baseball, so we'll give you the pitching matchups and look for some angles here on the baseball schedule. Let's recap what we saw here in the NBA playoffs on this Friday evening. We had the Magic defeat the Celtics 95-93 as they salvage a game here in this series. Boston leads the series now 2-1. And if you're looking at your updated series price for the Magic and the Celtics minus 5,000. No, that's all. Just minus 5,000. To win this series. If you think that it's going to wind up being a gentleman's sweep, this isn't the definition of a gentleman's sweep. The definition of a gentleman's sweep is where Team A wins the first 3 games of the series, Team B wins their home game in Game 4, and then Team A wins the series back home in Game 5. That's the gentleman's sweep. That is the only definition, the proper definition of the gentleman's sweep, because it's basically you're going for the sweep, you're up 3-0, but you let them get a game. You say, we're going to be respectful, we're going to be nice, it's very gentlemanly of us to let you get a win on your home floor, say goodbye to your fans, and then when you come back to our arena, we're going to beat you, and it's over in 5. That's the gentleman's sweep. When the team wins Game 3 here, not a gentleman's sweep. Now it's just all about business. And if you think the Celtics are going to handle business by winning the next 2 games, minus 200 to win the series in 5. If you think it goes beyond that, Celtics in 6, plus 240. Elsewhere, what we saw here on Friday night is the Bucks salvage a game. How about this? Every team that was trailing here 0-2 tonight in the Bucks and the Pacers, well, they bounced back to win their game. Congratulations. How about that? So the 2 teams. But we'll talk about that in hockey because that was a common theme here in the NHL schedule on Friday. More on that coming up. But the Bucks win 117-101. Big night for Giannis, 37 points, as the Bucks had a monster second half, overcoming a double-digit deficit early on as they score 70 points in the second half to defeat the Pacers. So Indy still leads the series 2-1, but your series price right now has the Pacers at minus 210, the Bucks at plus 170. If you think this series does go beyond 5 games, over 5.5 is now minus 300. And you can get, as I mentioned, on the Bucks to come back and win this series, plus 170. I don't really see a value in that, to be honest with you. I'd rather just bet the Bucks to win the next game or win the next game after that. But that is often what you see here when it comes to these series prices. Now, the Lakers-Timberwolves series, this one's fascinating because the Timberwolves win, and they take a 2-1 series lead. The Timberwolves won Game 1. Very impressive in Game 1. Was it more so Timberwolves being impressive with all the 3-pointers, or were the Lakers just terrible in that game? Combination of both, probably, but with the Lakers bouncing back and winning Game number 2, and this series being even at 1 game apiece, despite the fact that the series shifted to Minnesota, and the Timberwolves did their job. They earned the split in LA. And by winning that one of 2, they had home court advantage. Because of the 5 games left in the series, they have 3 of them at home. So, you're looking at this and you're thinking, all right, well, Minnesota at home, they got the next 2 games. They're going to be favored in Game 3. They'll probably be favored in Game 4. They should be favored to win the series. That's not what it was, though. The Lakers were a heavy favorite to win the series when it was tied at a game apiece. Now with Minnesota winning, and they're up 2-1, Minnesota is minus 190 to win the series. The Lakers plus 155. I still think the Lakers can easily come back and win this series, and I think that we're going to see the old zigzag situation here, and the market will react accordingly. Right now, Minnesota, for this game coming up in a couple of days, is, let's see, minus 3.5. Minnesota minus 3.5. I think I like LA. I think I do like LA in this spot. Anyway, that is the updated series price on the games that happened here on Friday. Let's take a look at your schedule for tomorrow. We have 4 games on your Saturday schedule, and the action gets started 1 o'clock Eastern time between the Cavaliers and the Heat from Miami, where Cleveland is a 5.5-point road favorite. And looking across the board, down to 5 here at Circa, 5.5 most everywhere else. So if you like the Cavs here at Circa, you can get them at -5. Your total, 213, and looks like that is 213 pretty much everywhere. There is a 213.5. There's also a 212.5, so it is bouncing around. We have seen these totals be bet up, despite the fact that unders are leading the way here in the NBA playoffs. And in fact, let me just look up. I'll give you the exact numbers here on the NBA playoffs. It was at one point 12-6 to the under. Let's see. We'll get you the, let's see. This season, the unders are leading 17-10, but that doesn't count tonight's game. So that one went over. Looks like 17-11. All right, but still the unders are leading. Favorites straight up 21-7, 16-12 against the spread. But when it comes to these early start times, this is where you can really take advantage. Going back to the start of the 2021 season, so I went post-COVID, going back to the start of the 2021 season, NBA playoff games that start at 1 o'clock Eastern time or earlier, which is very rare, but a 1 o'clock Eastern time start, 13-2 to the under. And those games are going under by 11.2 points per game. That's fascinating. 13-2 to the under, going under by 11.2 points per game. And we have 2 of them this weekend. We have the Cavaliers and the Heat tomorrow, and the Pistons and the Knicks on Sunday. Now, the favorites in those games, they're dominating as well. 12-3, both straight up and against the spread for the favorites in the early start times. But I'm just focused on the unders because the favorites are, I don't know how to explain that. Do the better teams just play better because it's an earlier start time? No, it's just because favorites do well anyway in the NBA playoffs, and they're just a better team. So, yeah, like the start time has nothing to do, in my opinion, with the Cavaliers beating the Heat. But the unders, we can justify. We can explain why an under makes sense. These players are conditioned all season long, all career long, to play games at night. And then when it comes to a Saturday or a Sunday matinee game where they're not accustomed to it, in the regular season, okay, sometimes you'll have guys that just say, we're going to take this one off. We went out the night before, we're going to take this one off. Okay, yeah, I get it. It's an ABC nationally televised game or whatever it is, but it's a scheduled loss for us. Maybe the intensity's not there. But in the playoffs, you have just everything coming together for a perfect storm. You have the defensive intensity of a playoff game. And you have the slow start, the poor shooting, the legs maybe not being under you because it's an early start time. And not only is it an early start time in the playoffs with defensive intensity, but this is the 3rd game in this series where you've had to go all out for 2 games already. This is a perfect recipe for an under. It's probably going to be a best bet for me moving forward. Let's go through the rest of your schedule here for Saturday. The Thunder are at the Grizzlies, and Oklahoma City is up to a 15-point favorite here at Circa. There's 15.5s on the board. Your total in this one is at 222. There is a 223, 222.5 most places here for the Thunder at the Grizzlies. And Ja Morant likely not going to play here. because of the injury, the hip injury. So no John Morant in what is going to be probably the last game of the season for the Memphis Grizzlies. The Nuggets are at the Clippers, and LA, which looked very impressive in their first home game here in the playoffs. They are a 6-point favorite, total of 212. There's 212s and a halves. There's a rogue 213 if you want to grab an under on that, but that's where we are. 6 across the board, -6 for the LA Clippers. And it all comes down to this. We have a healthy Kawhi Leonard, and this team looks dominant with a healthy Kawhi Leonard. Plus, I loved the crowd there at the Intuit Dome. I really did. They have that wall there behind the basket where the visiting team's going to shoot their free throws, and they gave all the fans horse outfits to wear and distract Nikola Jokic. That was hilarious watching them there in that game, but very interesting stuff there. And the Rockets and Warriors, with that series knotted up at a game apiece, this is the first home game for the Golden State Warriors. They are 3-point favorites over the Rockets with a low total of 204, and we'll await word on Jimmy Butler, who exited game number 2 with an injury. His status for this game is up in the air. The Warriors, however, are optimistic that he will play. If you want to know where the real money is going, unlike other sources, our betting splits here at VSiN come straight from Circa and DraftKings Sportsbooks, which gives you the insight into where the sharp action is landing. Because you got Circa, known for taking big bets from pro bettors, DraftKings with a broader market perspective, so you get all the information you need. You can see the percentage of bets versus percentage of handle on every game across every major sport, helping you make smarter, more informed bets. Get all the betting splits by getting VSiN's summer special right now for only $59 through August 1st. Go to vsin.com/subscribe. I'm Scott Seidenberg here on VSiN.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you. It's Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We talked about the NBA playoff games coming up here for Saturday. And real quick, let me just update the series prices for the series that I did not give you the prices on. Your price on the Clippers-Nuggets series, LA -360 to win that series. And on the Warriors-Rockets series, Golden State is -170. to win that series. Rockets at +140, and the Warriors are the home favorite here in game number 3 with the series tied at a game apiece. On the ice, Stanley Cup playoffs will resume here on Friday night. All 3 teams that were trailing 2-0 all won on home ice. The Canadiens defeated the Capitals 6-3. The Devils in 2 overtimes defeated the Hurricanes 3-2, and the Oilers with a 7-4, just bizarre victory over the LA Kings, scoring 4 goals in the third period. 2 of them were empty netters, though, as they come from behind to defeat the Kings. On your schedule here for Saturday, we have 4 games, beginning with the Tampa Bay Lightning at the Florida Panthers. Now, the road team has won the first 2 games of this series in the Battle of Florida. The Panthers winning both games in Tampa. They have a 2-0 series lead. Florida is a -135 favorite over the Lightning. I bet the Lightning in game 2, and I was baffled by what I saw. With all due respect to Florida, I know they're a great team. I mean, this is a Stanley Cup championship team. I get that. Tampa's been better this season, and I thought Tampa on home ice would be better in this series. I picked Tampa to win this series. They look terrible. In that game that I watched, now, I thought game 1 was a fluke because Andrei Vasilevsky allowing, 6 goals on only 17 shots, that's never going to happen again. He's too world-class of a goaltender to have that happen again. But, and yes, there was the empty netter, so it was really a 1-0 game, but for Tampa to have just absolutely no offense against this Florida team, and watching that game, they had 5 power plays and only had 2 shots on goal in the 5 power plays combined. That's the most pathetic stat I've ever seen by a playoff team. You have 5 power plays, and over the course of those 10 minutes of hockey, 10 minutes of hockey where you have an extra player on the ice than your opponent, you only managed to get 2 shots on goal? And then the arena was as quiet as any arena I've ever heard in a playoff game. I tweeted out at one point, can someone tell the fans this is a playoff game and not like a regular season game against the last place team? I get it. There was nothing really to cheer for, but sometimes you got to, you'll never see that here in Vegas. You'll never see that in one of these hockey-hungry places. I mean, the crowd in Montreal was electric here on Friday night. That was just bizarre. I want to bet the Lightning, but not until I see them turn things around. The play for me in this one would be the under. It is an early start time, much like we mentioned in the NBA. This total is at 5.5, and I actually want to look something up. Let's see. Let's do the same exact parameters that we do in the NBA. So I want to know if it is a early start time in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So we'll do the same thing. We'll do since the start of the 2021 season. It's very rare that you have these early games. In fact, it's only happened 4 times, and ironically, it is 3-1 to the over since the start of the 2021. You know why? Because it's probably, let me do 1:30, because sometimes these games don't start at 1 o'clock. They actually start a little bit after 1 o'clock, 1:10 or so. 3-2 to the over. So that's kind of interesting. 3-2 to the over since the start of the 2021 season in the NHL. But this has been an under series. I would lean the under. It's at 5.5, and you can get reduced vig on going under 5.5 here for this first game, and it is a 1:10 Eastern time start. The Vegas Golden Knights are at the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota capturing game number 3 on their home ice, so they lead the series 2-1. VGK minus 145 favorites in this game over Minnesota. They were favored in game number 3 as well and unable to come through. Aiden Hill actually got pulled for the first time in his playoff career. Akira Schmid came in relief and actually looked pretty good in relief. But Aiden Hill needs to bounce back. The Knights need to bounce back. And I get what everybody has said about this Minnesota team. This is not the same Wild team that we saw for the majority of this season. Because without Joel Eriksson-Ek and without Kirill Kaprizov, they were a shell of themselves. And this is a team that, when healthy, got off to one of the best records in the entire NHL through the first 25-plus games of the season. And then for the rest of the season, they were completely a shell of themselves without their 2 best players, and they wind up just barely making it to the postseason. And so, yeah, Vegas was an overwhelming favorite. I still think Vegas is the better overall team. But there's no denying this Minnesota team is not a wild card team. This Minnesota team is not a team that should have been the last team to get into the playoffs. This is not like – this is a really good hockey team. And if Minnesota was to win this series, I don't necessarily think that they're just automatically dead in the second round. And they're playing great right now. The odds to win this series has the Wild at minus 125 to win the series. Vegas plus 105 on the comeback. Vegas was minus 200 to win this series prior to game number 1. So interesting that we see the shift here, obviously, with Minnesota winning that game 3. They go up 2-1. Should Vegas win this and go and even it up at 2-2, they'll be heavy favorites in game number 5. They'll be heavy favorites to win this series. The Maple Leafs are at the Senators, and Toronto looking to close this out. This is where I think we get the gentleman's sweep. Toronto wins in overtime in game 3. They're up 3-0. This is the Battle of Ontario. I do believe the Senators get this game at home, and then Toronto wraps this thing up in game 5 on their home ice. So if I had to make a play, I would lean towards Ottawa at a small minus 115 price. And then finally, Saturday night, what a game this is going to be. The Stars and the Avalanche. We talked about it earlier with our guest, Chad Andrews from 104.3 The Fan in Denver. Dallas is up 2-1. They've only led for about a minute in this series. Literally. The game one win by the Avalanche was a wire-to-wire win. Game two, Dallas scores to tie the game in the third period and then wins in overtime. They did not have, or they barely had a lead in that game when they took a 2-1 lead, and then Colorado scored like a minute later to take the lead in that one. And then another overtime winner for Dallas after they trailed 1-0 the entire game and tied it in the third period. They're up 2-1, and they've only been leading for a little over a minute of playing time. That's one of the most baffling stats you're going to see in a playoff series. This game being in Colorado, with them down 2-1, they're minus 175 favorites. You might as well make them minus 200 or plus. There's no other play to be made here besides the Avalanche. They're the better team. They're deeper. They're more talented. They're less injured. Dallas, don't get me wrong, they're a great team. I bet Dallas to win the Cup as soon as they acquired Mikko Rantanen. I placed that bet. Right now I have 4 bets on teams to win the Stanley Cup. But my first bet, which I actually did twice, was the Winnipeg Jets. They're by far my biggest, I want to say liability, but they would be my biggest win if the Winnipeg Jets win the Stanley Cup. I was on the Winnipeg Jets at the Four Nations face-off. That's when I bet them. When the teams took the Four Nations break, that's when I also bet Connor Hellebuck to win the Hart Trophy, so that would be a great cash at plus 400. But then I bet Winnipeg again later in the season because I felt they were being disrespected in the odds market. As soon as Dallas acquired Mikko Rantanen, I bet on Dallas to win the Cup. And then Jason Robertson goes down, Miro Heiskanen goes down. This team loses 7 straight or so to end the regular season. I see them facing the Avalanche in the first round. I bet the Avalanche to win the Cup. Colorado might be the deepest roster we've seen in the NHL in years. The acquisitions they made at the trade deadline, incredible. Absolutely incredible. So I can't see them going down 3-1 at all. I got to bet the Avalanche here in this game, even at this price. We know the Stanley Cup playoffs are here. We know the hits are harder. The stakes are higher. It's playoff hockey. Check out all the NHL playoff coverage on the VSiN Watch app. I'm Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter, at Scott's On Air. Coming up next, we're going to get into the Major League Baseball schedule here for Saturday. Joining us will be Johnny Venezia from RotoWire. We'll get his plays, and we'll look at the whole entirety of the board here for your Major League Baseball schedule on Saturday. This is Cashing Out right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here on Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Always on Twitter at Scott's On Air. Don't forget, coming up next week, Kentucky Derby. That's right, Derby Day here on VSiN. I'll be on Live Bet Saturday on that Saturday of the Derby Day. Get full Kentucky Derby coverage, horse racing coverage right now on the VSiN Watch app. Get you ready for the most exciting 2 minutes in all of sports. The Run for the Roses coming up next week here on VSiN. Let's talk Major League Baseballs. We got an exciting slate of games coming up here for Saturday, and let's come up with some best bets. Joining us right now on the Progressive guest line from RotoWire is Johnny Venezia. Johnny, thanks so much for giving us a couple of minutes, and let's pinpoint some games where we find some value here on the schedule of Major League Baseball on this Saturday. And the first place that I'm going to look, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, Hunter Green, who was and could still be a top candidate for the National League Cy Young Award, got off to an incredible start. Last time out, did not look like himself. Do we expect a bounce-back performance here from Hunter Green and the Reds, considering he's going up against the Rockies? Then again, though, it is at Coors Field.
Yeah, this is an opportunity for Hunter Green to showcase himself as a pitcher that's evolved the last few years into not only a Cy Young caliber pitcher, but one of the top arms in the game we have today, a complete pitcher, after a disaster last week at Camden Yards, would bounce back and have a strong outing no matter where it is, no matter who it is. These are major league hitters, even though Colorado looks like the worst team in baseball. Hunter Green needs to go out there, have a good start, even at Coors Field. By the way, Colorado does have some talent in that lineup, but Hunter Green, 8 strikeouts at minus 110 right now is something that I would play. The Rockies have struck out the second most times in Major League Baseball. They have one of the highest K rates, and Hunter Green is known as a big-time strikeout guy for anybody that's watched. So I like Green with the 8 strikeouts. It's a little thick to lay the money line with the Reds considering the price, but I would target some Green props here. I think this is one of those where he needs 7 innings, 1 earned, 10 strikeouts, signature Hunter Green performance on the bounce back.
Would you look to maybe narrow down your focus and maybe do like a Reds first 5 play, even laying the half a run to kind of mitigate some of that juice?
You know, it's funny. I actually had the Reds in a first 5 last week against the Orioles, and Hunter Green got some support, but he just decided he didn't want me to have it. So, listen, on paper it sounds okay, but, he's got to earn back my trust before I start doing first 5s with him again.
Well, speaking of earning back our trust, the Phillies are in a free fall, losers of 5 straight games, but they send their stopper to the mound here on Saturday in Chicago. Who would have thought that Jesus Luzardo would be the guy to lead the Phillies staff right now with his 2 ERA? He has been a revelation for this team. Do the Phillies get off the schneid here in Chicago?
You know what? I'm going to say they do. And I know what you're thinking. The Cubs have been really good. They've been this resisting team that's found ways to hang tough or come back from big deficits or late game dramatics, whatever the case is. But Philadelphia really needs this one. And Jesus Luzardo, I'm not surprised he's been a revelation. This is a guy I took 150 to 1 preseason to lead the league in strikeouts.
Wow. Because
I felt like him being a high variance guy, if the variance was on the high side and it hit, it would be really special this year. And that's what we've seen. So, I'm happy Luzardo's doing well, and he's found his second win in his career in Philadelphia. That being said, I think the Cubs, who have hit lefties phenomenally this year, they're batting .294 with an OPS over 900, even in a very small sample size, has been impressive. But, listen, that is just a broad number and split for the whole year. You don't get many lefties the way Jesus Luzardo's been throwing the baseball this year, with the slider and the sweeper accounting for major whiffs and put away percentages. I think Luzardo over 5.5 strikeouts is interesting, but I feel like the Phillies at a short money line price is something that I would consider as well for this Saturday afternoon game. The time for the Phillies to get right.
I agree with that. Talking to Johnny Venezia from RotoWire, joining us on the Progressive Guest Line. I'm Scott Seidenberg. It's Cashing Out right here on VSiN, the sports betting network. The Texas Rangers take on the San Francisco Giants, a afternoon game there in San Fran. Robbie Ray is on the mound for the Giants. Tyler Mahle goes for the Rangers. And you want to talk about dark horse Cy Young candidates, you can still get Mahle right now at 35 to 1, and all he's done to start his year is pitch to a 0.68 ERA. Can he continue to do what he's been doing so far?
I think he can. I mean, I popped Mahle. I'm sweating, baby. Tyler Mahle's he's been ripping. He's only allowed 1 run in his last 4 starts. And listen, he's going to regress to the mean because this is not who he has been over his career. But let's enjoy it while we have the opportunity. I mean, Texas is in San Francisco. They had a 2-0 win. And people are panicking about this offense. The fact that they're winning games and their offense really hasn't found their groove yet should be an encouraging sign, because I think a lot of people's reservations about the Texas Rangers coming to this year was their pitching. And their pitching has been very good overall. And how about my boy Wyatt Langford, my son, my incubator guy, day one, who, was my MVP pick for this year. Another 3 for 4 night. This kid is absolutely ripping. I like Texas here. Plus money dog, Robbie Ray. He's been a little bit shaky in his return here to the MLB. His ERA is north of 4. And listen, as great as stuff as Ray has had, he has had the tendency to be inefficient, not be able to go very long, and, give up some squared up baseballs and some barrels here.
Taking a look at the awards market, Jacob Wilson of the Athletics, the Oakland, Sacramento, Las Vegas Athletics, he is a minus 110 favorite to be the American League Rookie of the Year. All Wilson has done to start this year is bat .330 with just 1 walk and 4 strikeouts in 94 at-bats. All this kid does is put the ball in play. Is he the Rookie of the Year in your mind, or is there another player that you would take a flyer on in this market?
I mean, as of right now, I mean, he's obviously had the most sample size along with Christian Campbell, and he's outperformed the best. And, Jacob Wilson at 13-1 was a preseason guy of mine because I watched him a ton at Grand Canyon. And on my RotoWire articles, I had a handful of guys out that I liked for the Rookie of the Year, and Jacob Wilson was on that list. Now with Nick Kurtz getting a quicker call-up than honestly I expected. I didn't think he would get called up until probably the second half of the summer, but this kid's been unreal. And listen, at 850, there's still good value there. So if you're getting Kurtz at 850 or there's even a 10-1 out there, I definitely would take the piece if you haven't done so already. But let's be honest here, man. Like Cam Smith at 20-1 doesn't make any sense. And I've talked about this on my podcast. I think people get this notion like, once there's all this hype on a prospect, especially a rookie who's making his debut less than a year after coming out of college, that, all right, hey, there's so much hype on him. He's done so well in spring training. He's just going to continue and have no speed bumps. Like, it doesn't work like that. Everybody has speed bumps. So the smallest bump in the road, that people go into hysterics and just completely lose faith. Like Cam Smith is going to be there at the end. This kid is a dog. This kid is a pure hitter. He's transitioned into right field after playing third base his whole life seamlessly, potentially playing center field. Like Cam Smith is an absolute dog. 20-1 is ridiculous. I think Cam Smith's going to be somebody that is firmly in the mix for the AL Rookie of the Year at the end. Nick Kurtz is a guy as well, like I just said. And I think if somebody I would keep my eye on is Jack Caglione at the 50-1 territory.
Stole my thunder there,
If
John.
he comes up, if he comes up in the middle of May, he's going to have a shot because this is a kid that could play 110, 120 games, still hit 20 home runs with 60 RBIs. I mean, Jack Caglione is – I couldn't believe when 5 teams passed on him in the draft. I felt like he should have been the number 1 pick. This is a modern-day Titan. The Italian prince from Tampa slides out of the top 5. I don't know what people were watching. He hit 420 with 35 dingers last year. I'm not really sure. But Caglione, if he gets called up in time, and that's probably middle of May, maybe right before June, 50-1 and probably drifting is still something that I would consider.
And I'll throw another one out there for you, maybe Roman Anthony, because he is tearing it up right now for AAA Worcester. So he gets called up to the Red Sox. He is their top prospect. He could certainly shine for them. We got about 30 seconds left. Tennessee is the favorite to win the College World Series. I know you're going to be following this all the way to Omaha. Would that be your selection, yes or no?
No. Texas A&M. I was an A&M preseason guy. A&M, LSU were 2 of my big preseason teams. I think A&M is going to get hot in the second half, as they have been. They're going to keep it rolling, man. They got the number 1 player in the country in Jace Lavalette. Could be the 1-1 pick. They have a lot of talent. And, man, listen, the rest of the country woke up a sleeping giant. A&M is going on a second-half heater. You do not want to face this team in a playoff format like the College World Series or like the NCAA tournament. Look out for the Aggies.
18-1 right now up on DraftKings. Johnny Venezia from RotoWire. Appreciate the time. Good luck with your bets, man.
You too. Thank you.
There he is. I'm Scott Seidenberg. It's Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you. It's Cashing Out right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And let's take a look at the schedule here for Saturday in both the NBA and the Stanley Cup playoffs as we give you the best bets for tomorrow's games. Now, we talked about this earlier. I'm going to repeat some trends and stats that are going to help you cash these best bets. By the way, best bets are brought to you by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. The first place that I'm going to look is the first game of the day in the NBA. We talked about this earlier in the program. I'm going to reiterate some stats here for you. Early NBA playoff games, and I'm talking the 1 o'clock Eastern time starts. Since the start of the 2021 playoffs, playoff games that start at 1 o'clock Eastern time are 13-2 to the under. Let that sink in for a moment. 13-2 to the under. Not only are these games going under, but they're going under by double digits, by 11 points per game. They're going under. Last week, we had the Thunder take on the Grizzlies on a Sunday. Well, we also had on Saturday last week, it was the Pacers and the Bucks. Both games, the totals got bet up going into the game. I didn't understand this, but the Pacers-Bucks game got bet up, upwards of 226, 227, and that thing went under. And then the Thunder-Grizzlies, that got bet up as well, 231, 230, and that one goes under as well. I didn't understand. And so looking at this line for the Miami Heat hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's at 213 right now. And normally, I wouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it because of what we saw last weekend. I think you can wait and get a better number on this under. Normally, that would be, I guess, yeah, I would think that, hey, the sharps would come in and bet the under because it's the playoffs. And these numbers would go down. But we didn't see that. We saw the numbers go up. And it's not just, public likes betting overs. No. Because, yeah, public does like betting overs, but the sharps love the unders. The unders are leading the way here in the playoffs. You would think these numbers would get bet down. But we didn't see that last weekend. So I would wait. But we go under this first game between the Cavs and the Heat. It's the perfect storm. You got the defensive intensity with the playoffs combined with the unnatural start time of a 1 o'clock Eastern time start when these players are so used to playing at night. And it's not the first game. This is the third game of the series, so your bodies are a little bit worn down. This game going under. 13-2, I'll repeat the trend. Since the start of the 2021 playoffs, 1 o'clock Eastern time starts, 13-2 to the under. Going under by 11 points per game. Here in these playoffs, we had the two games go under last weekend between the Thunder, Grizzlies, and the Pacers, Bucks. This weekend, we have the Cavs, Heat coming up here tomorrow on Saturday. Pistons, Knicks coming up on Sunday morning. Go under both of those games. We're just 2-0 right now to the under here in these playoffs. And you're not going to have a lot of time to play this because as the rounds get later and later, you're not going to have these early start times. So early start times, we go under. That's the best bet number one, under. Find the best number out there, 213.5, see if it goes up, whatever it is. Take the under, Cavaliers, Heat, and a bonus best bet Sunday. Take the under, Pistons, and the Knicks. On the ice, I'm going to give you a best bet as well. And it's juicy. But you know what they say sometimes? You like it, the juice? I'll get you more juice. The Colorado Avalanche are not going to lose to the Dallas Stars. They're minus 180 right now on the money line. They're plus 142 if you want to bet them minus a goal and a half. We've had 2 overtime games already. We've had Dallas take a 2-1 series lead. And Dallas is up 2-1 in this series with only leading for a minute of playing time. That makes no sense. They've tied the game in the thirds, and then they've gone on to win in overtime. They have barely led in this series. Colorado's been the better team. Dallas has just been feisty. Dallas has muddied up the games. Dallas has made it very difficult for Colorado to get in their offense, but Colorado is the much deeper team. And at some point, the injuries are going to come back to hurt Dallas. Not having Heiskanen, not having Robertson, that's going to hurt Dallas here. Colorado at home, they need this win. They cannot go back to Dallas down 3-1. So I would go with Colorado. Minus 180 on the money line is juicy, but I can't see them losing. I cannot see them losing this game. Those are the best bets, brought to you by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. GBank is upping the ante with up to a $750 bonus for new GBank Visa Signature Card customers. First, new customers who spend $1,000 on eligible purchases within 90 days from account opening will receive a $250 bonus. In addition, if you spend $50,000 on gaming and sports app loads within the 30 days of account opening, you'll receive another $500 bonus. That's potentially a $750 bonus. Apply now at vsin.com/gbank. That's vsin.com/gbank. Subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. I'm Scott Seidenberg. You can hit me up on Twitter at ScottsOnAir, ScottsOnair. I had a tweet the other night that has gone viral. And what do I mean by viral? Well, this thing is, it's got legs of its own. Almost 200,000 views on this tweet, and it has to do with Shedeur Sanders. He doesn't get taken in the first round. I tweet the following, quote, "You're telling me the most sacked quarterback in college football last year with the 110th slowest time to throw out of 156 quarterbacks was not appealing to NFL teams in the first round?" And I add, if his last name was not Sanders, this would not be a story. Once again, NFL teams know more than you. A lot of people did not like that tweet. A lot of people call me a hater. A lot of people show the stats on Shedeur Sanders. And I agree, the kid's got phenomenal numbers. Really, he put up great numbers at Colorado. Not numbers worthy of having your jersey retired, but he put up great numbers at Colorado. But if you dive deeper into the numbers, and this is something that there's a great article I tweeted out by Derek Klassen of The Athletic, who dove deeper into Shedeur Sanders' game film and his stats to actually unveil who he truly is as a quarterback. And think about this. Accuracy is fantastic. We know he's got an incredible completion percentage, and he's great outside the pocket. Okay? He's great under pressure. All these numbers are fantastic. But if you dive deeper in, and this is what's fantastic about what this article does, is you can kind of see the negative about him. Yes, it was great that he had such a high completion percentage. Well, as this article points out, quote, just over 27% of Sanders' charted throws were behind the line of scrimmage, end quote. So you're throwing a lot of screen passes behind the line of scrimmage. That's going to boost up your completion percentage. So take those throws out of the equation. And then the accuracy. Quote, 11.2% of Sanders' throws required an unnecessary adjustment by the wide receiver in order to be caught. Anywhere between 4 to 7% is a normal range when looking at my data from previous draft classes, while 8 to 9% tends to be at the high end of the spectrum. It's incredibly rare to see anything above 10%, end quote. So, while his receivers are catching the ball, amongst all the quarterbacks in this draft, his receivers have to break off their routes and make adjustments to make their catches. A lot of that has to do with Travis Hunter. He's done a great job, right? So you can look at these numbers and look inside the numbers, and you see a completely different story. And the article goes on to explain a bunch of other situations as well. To me, holds on to the ball too long, takes too many sacks. The accuracy numbers are great, whatever, but there's got to be more reasons. And when I say the NFL teams know more than you, they know more than we do. They dive deep into these players, whether it's the medicals, whether it's the psych eval, whatever it is, the interview process. They uncover things that determine whether or not they want to give a kid millions of dollars. And if these teams in the first 3 rounds have decided that it ain't it for Shedeur Sanders, I take them at their word for it. This isn't a conspiracy because of Dion or anything else. This is about talent evaluation at the NFL level. And whether the pundits on TV or radio think they know more than these guys at the NFL level, they don't. The teams know more than we do. They always will. Do they make mistakes? Sure. But they know more than us. Don't forget, wake up tomorrow morning with the VSiN Weekend Morning Line at 10 a.m. Eastern, followed by Ready, Set, Bet, and then Live Bet Saturday. I'm Scott Seidenberg, right here with you on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.